I still remember the sound of their laughter as the truck pulled away. The heat pressed down on my shoulders, thick and unforgiving, while dust curled up from the tires and hung in the air like a bad memory. I stood there frozen, one hand still raised, my heart dropping so fast it made me dizzy. Luke was not in my life yet. Back then, the man who was supposed to love me was my husband, Evan Sullivan. "Evan!" I shouted, my voice cracking as I ran a few steps after the truck. "Evan, wait." He did not even slow down. His brothers leaned out the windows, laughing, filming, treating the moment like a joke they would replay later. I heard one of them shout something about seeing me soon, his voice fading as the truck disappeared down the road. The gas station sat alone in the middle of nowhere. One pump, a flickering light, a bathroom that looked like it had not been cleaned in years. My phone was dead. My wallet was gone. I had left it in the truck when I ran inside to grab Evan a drink, because he said he was too tired to walk. I waited 5 minutes, 20, an hour. I kept telling myself it was just a prank. Evan liked pranks. His family loved them. I had learned to smile through a lot of things I did not find funny. But when the sun burned my skin and no truck came back, something inside me shifted. My phone buzzed once before dying completely. A single message. "Do not be mad, just a prank. We will come back." I stared at the screen until it went dark. That was the moment I understood this was not a joke. It was a truth I had been avoiding for years. I was not safe. I was not valued. And I was standing alone on the side of the road, with no one coming back for me. That day did not break my marriage. It revealed what it had always been. Before that day, I used to believe I was lucky. I told myself that Evan was a good man who just came from a loud family, that his brothers were immature but harmless, that every marriage had flaws, and that love meant learning to tolerate them. I had been raised to keep the peace, to smooth things over, to laugh things off so no one felt uncomfortable. When I married Evan, I carried that habit straight into his family. Every holiday came with a test, a joke at my expense, a comment wrapped in laughter. If I looked hurt, someone would say I was taking it too seriously. If I spoke up, I was accused of ruining the mood. Evan always stood just slightly to the side of it all. He did not start the jokes, but he never stopped them either. He would smile and tell me later that I needed thicker skin, that his brothers did not mean anything by it. I wanted to believe him, so I adjusted myself instead. I learned when to stay quiet. I learned how to smile on cue. I learned how to swallow the tight feeling in my chest when I felt small in my own home. From the outside, our life looked fine. We worked. We hosted dinners. We posted pictures that made people comment about how happy we looked. But inside, I was always bracing for the next moment I would be embarrassed or dismissed. I told myself it was normal. I told myself love was compromise. What I did not realize back then was that compromise should never cost you your dignity. Little by little, without anyone noticing, I began to disappear inside my own life. And I thought that was just what being married meant. I was wrong. Looking back now, the signs were everywhere. The jokes were never random. They always landed in the same place on me. My reactions, my boundaries, my discomfort. If something went wrong, it became a story to laugh about later. If I asked for respect, it turned into proof that I could not take a joke. Evan watched it happen and did nothing. When I tried to explain how it made me feel, he brushed it off. He said I was reading too much into things, that his brothers were just being themselves, that I needed to relax. So, I did what many women do. I started questioning myself instead. Maybe I was too sensitive. Maybe I expected too much. Maybe if I tried harder, things would feel easier. But the truth was simpler and harder to accept. I was married to a man who benefited from my silence. As long as I stayed quiet, nothing had to change. That was when I started saving money. Not because I planned to leave. I was not brave enough for that yet. But because something deep inside me understood that I might need a way out one day. $10 here, $20 there, cash back at the grocery store, a small account under my own name. I did it quietly, almost without thinking, like an instinct I did not want to admit to myself. Evan never noticed. He trusted me with the finances and never asked questions. It never crossed his mind that I might be preparing for a future without him. I told myself it was just being responsible, just being smart. But deep down, I knew I was not saving money. I was saving myself. And the longer I stayed, the more that quiet voice inside me grew stronger, reminding me that love should never feel like survival. The gas station was not special. That is what made it unforgettable. One pump stood crooked near the road. A small convenience store buzzed with a tired fluorescent light. Beyond that, there was nothing. No houses, no hotels, just empty roads stretching in both directions. I paced the cracked pavement, checking my phone again and again. Even though I already knew it was dead, I kept telling myself the truck would turn around, that Evan would laugh, apologize, and say it went too far. Minutes passed, then more. The heat soaked through my clothes. My mouth felt dry. Every time a car passed, my heart jumped, then dropped when it did not slow down. A clerk inside the store watched me through the window. When I finally went in and asked if I could use a phone, he shrugged. He said they would probably come back. His voice carried no concern, only boredom. I went back outside and sat on the curb, my back against the building. I tried to breathe normally. I tried not to cry. Crying felt pointless. Then my phone vibrated one last time. A single message appeared on the screen. Do not be mad. Just a prank. We will come back. I stared at it until the screen went black. In that moment, something inside me went quiet. Not calm, empty. This was not the first time my feelings had been dismissed. It was not even the worst, but it was the first time I was truly alone with no way to soften it or explain it away. They were laughing somewhere down the road, comfortable, entertained, certain I would still be there when they felt like returning. And I realized something that changed everything. I did not want them to come back. The fear I felt was real, but underneath it was something stronger. Clarity. This was what my life would always look like if I stayed, waiting, hoping, making excuses for people who never checked if I was okay. That gas station did not end my marriage. It stripped away the last illusion I had been clinging to. I stayed at that gas station longer than I should have. Part of me kept expecting Evan to realize he had gone too far, to turn the truck around, to show up embarrassed and apologetic. But another part of me already knew better. A woman pulled in with a minivan, 2 kids in the back seat, music playing softly through the open windows. She looked at me standing there alone and asked if I was all right. I did not tell her everything. I just said I needed to go north. She hesitated for a moment, then nodded. She said she could take me as far as the next town. I thanked her like she had just offered me a lifeline because that was exactly what she was doing. As we drove, I stared out the window and let the road pull me away. I did not cry. I did not call Evan. I did not send a message explaining myself. For the first time in years, I did not feel the need to justify my choices. She dropped me near a small bus station just as the sky started to darken. Before she left, she handed me a charger, a bottle of water, and a few dollars. She told me to take care of myself. I used the last bit of power on my phone to check the bus schedule. Then, I messaged the only person I could think of who would not ask questions. Rose Bennett. I had not spoken to her in years, but she replied within minutes. Come, she wrote. You are always welcome. I bought a one-way ticket with the money I had saved. As the bus pulled out of the station, I watched the town disappear behind me. I did not feel dramatic. I did not feel reckless. I felt certain. I was not running away from my marriage. I was walking toward my life. The bus ride took all night. I barely slept, watching street lights blur into long streaks against the window. Every mile felt like distance from a version of myself I no longer wanted to be. I did not know exactly what waited for me, only that I needed somewhere quiet, somewhere safe. When the bus finally stopped, the air smelled like salt and damp wood. The sky was pale, with early morning light. I stepped off with stiff legs and a tired body, but something inside me felt strangely steady. Rose Bennett was waiting in an old sedan near the curb. She looked older than I remembered, her hair more gray, her hands a little slower. But when she hugged me, it felt the same, solid, certain. like coming home to a place that never closed its door. She did not ask why I was there. She did not ask where Evan was or what had happened. She just said, "Let us get you inside." Her house sat on a quiet street near the water. The paint was chipped in places. Wind chimes tapped softly on the porch. Inside, everything smelled like clean soap and fresh bread. I slept for almost 2 days. When I woke up, Rose was at the kitchen table folding laundry. She slid a plate of food toward me, then placed an envelope beside it. Inside was a small stack of cash and a note with a name written carefully in ink. Paige Morgan. "My friend at the diner could use help," she said gently. "They do not ask many questions. You can use your mother's name." I stared at the paper for a long moment. Morgan felt familiar, safe, like a part of me I had not lost, only set aside. I nodded. That was the day I stopped being someone's wife and became myself again. I started working at the diner that same week. It was a small place near the water with worn boots, faded menace, and the smell of coffee that never quite left the air. The work was simple: pouring refills, wiping counters, remembering regular orders. It grounded me in a way I had not felt in years. That was where I met Luke Morrison. It was a slow afternoon when the bell above the door rang and a man stumbled inside. At first, I thought he was just another tired traveler. Then I saw the blood soaking through his shirt. He collapsed near the counter before he could say much more than help. Everything inside me went still, then sharp. I grabbed towels and pressed them against his side while my boss called for an ambulance. Luke's breathing was shallow, his face pale, but his eyes stayed locked on mine like he was holding on through me. I told him to stay awake. I told him he was going to be fine, even though I did not know if that was true. When the paramedics arrived, they worked fast. As they lifted him onto the stretcher, Luke reached out and caught my wrist. "Thank you," he said quietly. That was it. No drama. No promises. I did not expect to see him again, but a few days later, he came back, bruised, limping alive. He ordered coffee and sat by the window. When I brought it over, he looked up at me and asked my name. "Paige," I said. He nodded like he was filing it away somewhere important. Luke did not talk much. He never asked personal questions. He never stared too long or tried to fill the silence. He just listened. And for the first time in a long time, I felt something unfamiliar but comforting. I felt seen, not watched, not tested, just seen. By the time autumn arrived, Luke had become part of my routine. He came into the diner every few days and always sat in the same booth near the window. Sometimes he read the paper. Sometimes he just stared out at the water. We talked in small pieces, never pushing, never digging where the other was not ready. It felt easy. That was what surprised me most. Then one evening, something shifted. I came home and found the front door slightly open. My heart thudded so hard I could hear it in my ears. Rose was out for the evening. The house was quiet, too quiet. I stepped inside slowly, checking each room. Nothing was broken. Nothing was missing, but one kitchen drawer stood open. The one where Rose kept her spare cash. I could not explain it, but I knew someone had been there. I called Luke. He arrived within minutes. He checked the locks, walked the perimeter, scanned the street. He moved calmly, deliberately, like someone who noticed details others missed. "This is not random," he said under his breath. The words settled heavy in my chest. After that, Luke stayed closer. He replaced the locks. He installed a small camera near the porch. He never made it feel dramatic. He never tried to scare me. He just made sure I felt protected. That night, Rose folded laundry at the table and looked at me carefully. "Sometimes," she said, "people do not chase you because they miss you. They chase you because they lost control." I did not answer, but somewhere far away, I felt the past shifting. And for the first time, I realized it might be looking for me. It had been almost 5 years since I heard his voice. So when I opened the door and saw Evan standing on the porch, my body reacted before my mind could catch up. My hands went cold. My breath stalled in my chest. For a moment, I thought I was imagining him. He looked thinner, older. The careless confidence he used to wear so easily was gone. His shoulders were tense. His hands raised slightly, as if approaching a skittish animal. "Paige," he said quietly. "Please, can we talk?" I did not answer. I did not answer. Before I could move, Luke stepped up beside me.
Not in front of me.
Beside me, calm, grounded. "Who are you?" Luke asked, his voice steady. Evan blinked, clearly unprepared for that question. "I am her husband." The word landed heavy, but it no longer fit. "I am not your wife," I said, my voice even. Evan's eyes moved between us, searching for something he no longer had. "I just need 5 minutes," he pleaded.
Please.
I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. The air smelled like damp leaves and ocean wind. Evan stared down at the porch boards for a long moment before speaking. "I have been looking for you," he said. "Ever since the video." "What video?" I asked. He swallowed. "My brothers, they talked about the gas station on their podcast. They thought it was funny. It went viral. People were furious. That is when I realized how bad it was." I studied his face. "You realized it when strangers were angry, not when I was." He flinched. "I left them," he said quickly. "I left the business. I have been trying to fix my life."
Why now? I asked.
"Because I could not carry it anymore," he whispered. "What I did, what I allowed." I looked at him and felt nothing but distance. "You did not lose me because of a prank," I said. "You lost me because you never saw me. Not once." The door opened behind us. Luke stepped out, quiet and solid. Evan's gaze flicked to him. "Who is he?" Evan asked. "My fiancé," I replied without hesitation. Evan nodded slowly, the truth finally settling in. "I guess I deserved that," he said. "You did," I answered. Then he turned and walked away, disappearing down the quiet street. And for the first time, I did not feel left behind. The courthouse hallway smelled like old paper and polished wood. I stood there holding Luke's hand, feeling calmer than I ever expected to feel in a place like that. Reporters whispered near the far wall. Cameras waited, hungry for reactions. I gave them none. Inside the courtroom, Evan's brothers sat at the defense table. They looked smaller than I remembered. Not weaker, just exposed. Their laughter had finally reached a place it could not protect them. This time, their prank had gone too far. A young woman collapsed after one of their stunts. Panic, humiliation, a medical emergency, no one could laugh off. When I was called to testify, walked to the stand without shaking. I did not exaggerate. I did not raise my voice. I simply told the truth. I described a gas station, the waiting, the fear that settled in after the joke stopped being funny. I explained what people never see in viral clips. The sleepless nights, the loss of trust, the quiet decision to disappear because staying meant breaking slowly. The room was silent when I finished. I was not there to punish anyone. I was there to name what happened, to say it out loud so it could not be dismissed again. When I stepped down, I did not look at Evan. I did not need to. I had already said everything that mattered. Outside, the sun felt warm on my face. Luke slipped his hand into mine like it had always belonged there. We walked past the reporters without stopping. Their questions faded behind us, unimportant. At the top of the courthouse steps, I paused and looked back once. Evan stood alone near the doors, quiet, still watching me walk away. 5 years earlier, I had stood on the side of a road, dust on my shoes, waiting for someone who never came back. This time, I was the one moving forward. I did not leave because of a prank. I left because I finally understood my worth. I learned that love does not make you feel small. It does not ask you to endure cruelty for the sake of peace. Luke did not find me whole. He found me healing. And he never tried to change me. He simply stood beside me while I became myself again. If this story resonates with you, know this. Walking away does not mean you failed. Sometimes it means you survived. If you found strength in Paige's journey, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. You are not alone, and it is never too late to choose.